Today, we're diving into a really cool, super simple, but incredibly powerful technique for managing stuttering. And it's all built around one idea, the butterfly touch. So let's start with a feeling. And I bet you know this one. Have you ever had a word get stuck? I don't just mean you can't think of it. I mean, it feels physically stuck, like there's a brick wall right behind your lips. Well, that frustrating feeling is exactly what we're going to tackle today. You know, that feeling actually has a name, and it's a pretty powerful one, the hammer effect. And here's the key thing to get. This isn't just in your head. It's a real physical block. Understanding that is the very first step to getting a handle on it. All right, so let's break down exactly what this hammer effect is. What is actually happening in our mouths that creates that feeling of being completely and totally stuck? Okay, so where does this block usually happen? Well, it's often on these specific sounds, which are called plosives. Just try saying them with me. P, B, K, G. You feel that? For every single one, you have to completely stop the air and then release it in a little pop. They're literally stop and go sounds. And here's where the hammer comes into play. When we're nervous or we think a word is going to be tough, our gut instinct is to try and force it out. We press our lips together way too hard for a P or B, or we jam our tongue against the roof of our mouth for a T or a K. All that extra pressure traps the air and bam, it creates the very block we were so afraid of. We're literally hammering the door shut on ourselves. And you can see the difference right here. The hammer approach, that gives you that hard, repetitive, stuck, but please, because your lips are just pressed too tight. But the goal, the dream, is this soft, flowing please, where the lips barely even touch. So the big question is, how do we make that shift from the hammer to the butterfly? So what's the solution? Well, the antidote to that heavy, clumsy hammer effect is something incredibly light, the butterfly touch. So what is it exactly? It's actually super simple. The butterfly touch is all about practicing and changing the quality of the contact in your mouth. You're not trying to avoid your lips touching. You can't. You're just aiming to make that touch as light and as gentle as possible. This is the whole game right here. You still need to make contact to say a peace sound, but you want to get rid of the pressure. The goal is to shift your focus so you're only feeling that bare minimum whisper light touch. But you might be wondering, why does this work so well? What's the big secret behind this focus on lightness? Let's dig into the logic, and it starts with a couple of really brilliant analogies. This is what some people call five-year-old logic, and it's perfect because it's so incredibly intuitive. Just picture your lips as delicate butterfly wings. You wouldn't slam them together, would you? Of course not. You'd let them kiss each other very gently. And that gentleness is what lets them immediately part ways and just fly into the very next sound. Here's another great one you can probably relate to every single day. Think about typing on a keyboard. You don't need to mash the keys to make a letter show up, right? A light little tap does the job perfectly, and it's way more efficient. Well, speaking these plosive sounds is the exact same thing. All you need is a tiny light tap. Okay, so the concept is simple. The analogies totally make sense. But how do we actually do this? Let's get practical and walk through a step-by-step guide to putting the butterfly touch into practice right now. I think the best way to start is to treat it like a game with 3 different levels. This is a fantastic way to go because it lets you build your confidence, starting with a simple private drill before you ever have to use it in a real conversation. First up, easy mode. You can do this right now. Just pick a few P or B words like paper or best. Okay, now say them out loud, but focus only on making the contact between your lips as light as you possibly can. You should be aiming for an almost breathy sound, like you're whispering that first letter. That's the feeling you're looking for. Next, let's level up to medium mode. This is all about applying the technique to a really high-stakes personal word, your own name. If your name starts with one of those plosive sounds, just practice saying it with the butterfly touch a few times right before you have to introduce yourself. Pay super close attention to that physical feeling of lightness. And finally, challenge mode. This is where we go after the trickiest plosives of them all, the K and G sounds that you make at the back of your throat. So in your next conversation, consciously try to turn every hard K or G click into a softer puff of air. This takes real focus, yeah, but it's the ultimate training ground. So as we wrap this up, let's circle back to the central idea. The butterfly touch isn't about avoiding difficult sounds. It's about empowerment. It gives you a real tool you can use to actively replace that physical sensation of a hard, frustrating block with the gentle, controlled sensation of a light touch. So I'll just leave you with a call to action. Think about your day ahead.
Where is one place, one meeting, one phone call, one quick chat with a friend, where you can consciously try out the butterfly touch? Thanks for tuning in.